Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Tonight, I will be welcoming Naturopaths Dr. Khaliq alim-el, aka Dr. Botanica, and Brother David Levy Bey, aka Brother Dave, in a special Set the Record Straight presentation entitled MediSin versus Magical Modalities. Dr. Botanica studied with many prominent naturopaths, including his mentor in Oriental Medicine, Dr. George Love. He earned a Ph.D. in nutrition and was a close friend and confidant of the late Dick Gregory. Dr. Botanica received a Ph.D. in health science from Claremont University, a certification from the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, and has trained in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda Medicine, Metabolic Therapy, Homeopathic Medicine, and bioidentical hormone therapy. In 2005, under the name Jose Fleming, Dr. Botanica, along with co-author Dr. Scott Whitaker, published his first book entitled MediSin. Now, Brother Dave Levy Bey began studying holistic modalities after being cured of a quote-unquote incurable disease by Western standards by following the holistic protocols of the late Dr. Frank Wyatt, naturopath. Brother Dave went on to train under Dr. Wyatt for 7 years and subsequently graduated from Trinity School of Natural Health. He is a board-certified master herbalist, certified natural health professional, skilled in iridology, sclerology, and pupil border dynamics. Now, both of these dynamic brothers have been guests on Office Hours with Dr. G, and I am so glad to bring them together tonight in a special Set the Record Straight MediSin versus Magic Modalities. Let's welcome them to Office Hours with Dr. G. How you doing? You all know the drill. Gotta rock with me. How you doing? Really? Oh shit. Yeah, that's me. Wow, welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. Let me unmute you guys so that you can have a conversation too. Welcome back to the show. Dr. Botanica, you were just here a few weeks ago, and Brother Dave, I think you were here maybe when I first started with this particular platform in May or something of 2020. And it is a pleasure and a privilege to have both of you on the show. And I know this is going to be, people are like, oh, he just had him. And what? There's a reason for everything.
That's right.
And when I call this setting the record straight, I guess I will establish why it was necessary to have you on the show. So in my humble way of, and I'm humble, of setting the stage for this, because we're going to go beyond this. I think we're going to deal with what brought us together, but we're going to go beyond this because I'm privileged and we're privileged to have the expertise of both of you together. And so often, it's not often that we can get people who are basically in the same mode, if you will, or same modalities or professions to come together in unity and an agreement. But it didn't start out that way. It didn't start out that way, folks. Let me tell y'all something. I had Dr. Botanica, if you all remember, a few weeks ago on the show, and I had pictures of his books up, MediSin, and I think
Healing a Woman's Treasure and
Whole Fools and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I know about Brother Dave, particularly if I have somebody holistic on the show, Brother Dave is a watchdog, and he will watch. He will watch if he didn't see it live, when he sees it in the replay, if he sees something or hears anything that he feels is not really absolutely what should have been said, I will get a text, a long text of all the fine points of what should have been said, what should not have been said, and what the alternatives was. Well, I got such a text from Brother Dave with regards to your appearance on Office Hours with Dr. G, and he was not happy whatsoever with what he had heard, and that was the fact that you claimed to be the author of a book that he knew for a fact had been authored by another person because he met that person, and your name, Dr. Khaliq, alim-el, or Dr. Botanica appeared anywhere on that book. And so he sent me all the background, and he sent me videos of this other person, and and I think he put a not too pleasant comment. I didn't get to read it, but I think he removed it.
Absolutely removed it.
He put a comment on whatever platform he saw it on. But something in me, I knew for a fact that your name or appellation, your straw name was Jose Fleming.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so then I started to call Brother Dave, but I felt led to call you. Just wanted to clarify some things. And then I asked you, I said, do you mind if I called up Brother Dave and see if I can bring you all together so that you can explain who you are to him, and it won't be hearsay. And you said no. He said by all means, and you even apologized for the misunderstanding, even though you hadn't spoken to him yet. And I was like, well, no, he just doesn't know who you really are. And then I called you, Brother Dave, and asked you if it was all right. I didn't what do you call it? I didn't get you off guard.
Put me on the spot.
I didn't put you on the spot. I asked you, I told you who I had on the phone and asked you if you would not mind doing a three-way, because I think there was something that you needed to hear. So I just needed to set the stage for how and why we are coming together tonight, not only to talk about what brought us together, but I want you all to speak to the audience, because there are so many things that are going on with regard to health and nutrition and well-being and all of that. And you two have such a wealth of knowledge and expertise that I know that the viewers will get a lot out of this. And I will say to you, Brother Dave, and I'm going to say it in defense because somebody's probably going to say it in the chat, is that there have been a lot of people since when you appeared who said, I tried to call the brother, he didn't call me back. I know you've been busy. Okay. So I'm just going to say in your defense, we put links down. I put links in there for people. Your numbers are there, your emails are there, and your word is that you're going to get back to everybody and anybody who at least reaches out to you. And I just want them to know, because I don't want nobody to say, that brother didn't call me back. You know what I mean? Because
you know what? And you're absolutely right. And I apologize for that. But I've been bombarded with so many calls. It's just that sometimes stuff will get by me. But that's why I tell people, don't give up. Don't just call once. If you don't get me, call again. You know what I'm saying? Because what you have to understand, when you're dealing with us who have these skills, we're far few in between. So when we can bombard it, we can bombard it. You know what I'm saying? And so, I can tell you in my story with Dr. Wyatt, it took me 3 months before I could see him, because that's how big he was.
Before you get there,
I'm not going to go all the way in.
Yeah, because I'm going to give you a chance now. I'm going to start with you, because I just set it up. But you tell me what happened when you saw the video of Dr. Botanica on Office Hours with Dr. Please tell us.
Okay. All right. So I'm watching this video while I'm working out at the time. I'm on my stationary bike, and I'm watching this, and I'm saying, wow. I said, this brother is very knowledgeable. But what I can't get past is, why does he keep saying he wrote this book? I know he didn't write this book. And I said, but he's saying it so confidently, like he wrote this. And I'm like, I met the person who wrote this book. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I've been knowing this guy since 2012. I'm like, how is he saying he wrote this book? And I couldn't get by it. So I said, okay. I said, I got to reach out to Dr. G about this because I got to let her know. So you know, and what really was getting to me is that when he showed the book, you know, the reprint of it, and then the new book that he's putting out, and I'm like, how is he taking the cover of the book and he's changed it and his name is on it, but it wasn't on the original, and so I'm sitting there believing that you know, he was not the author of the book. And so I reached out to Dr. G, and, you know, I sent her all my information because, you know, I said, I'm not going to just sit up there and say it. I'm going to prove it. And so I sent all the information, and she calls me, and I'm so glad she did. And she called me, and she said, Brother Dave, I actually have him on the phone. Do you mind if I bring him on? And I said, no, I don't mind. You know, there's no reason for me to hide. If I sit up there and I'm standing pat on what I believe, well, there's no reason for me to hide. So, you know, brother got on the phone and he explained the story to me, and it touched my heart because I understood where he was coming from, because we face stuff like this all the time. And I said, wow, you know, his spirit was so humble. You know what I mean? And he went into detail telling me stuff that he didn't have to tell me. And, you know, it really got to me. And I said, you know what? I said, I understand. I said, and I would have never made the connection that you were Jose Fleming. And matter of fact, I never even paid that person's name any attention on the book, because the person who I thought wrote the book was so far out in the forefront that anybody who contributed to the book, you hardly paid any attention. And so, you know, when I found out that was your straw name, and I'm saying to myself, wow. And I had put a comment on the interview, and I said, I got to remove it because I don't want that on there. You know what I mean? Because this brother is for real. And so I immediately went and took it off, and I'm so glad I did, and apologized like a man is supposed to, you know. But from that day that you brought us together, Dr. G, it's been a wonderful experience. Me and him have talked for hours.
Exactly.
Because we both have so much knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for introducing me to this brother. You know, I'm so thankful, and I mean it.
And I appreciate that, you know, because you said something off camera that I hope, you know, it'll come back up and you'll say it, but just to jog your memory, you mentioned, you know, that how you were steadfast in what you thought you knew, what you knew to be true.
Right.
And because of that, you felt it was your duty to inform me, you know, that I had, you know, had a fraud on the show, pretty much.
Right.
If you saw that, there were going to be others that were going to see it, and you know, maybe their response would be even, you know, worse, because they wouldn't know me, so that I could get back to them. And so, but one thing that you said, Dr. Botanica, when Brother Dave said after I was still on the phone and you all had, you know, met and you explained things, some of which I already knew. He said to you, well, brother, you need to set the record straight. That's why I said set the record. Maybe not, it wasn't exactly that, but Brother Dave, you told Dr. Botanica he needed to clear his name. He needed to put himself in his proper perspective with regard to the book. And the interesting thing about it is that the day, I want to say it was the day after, or was it the week before, a week after, I was on another show with a brother who actually had Dr. Scott Whitaker because he said, "Oh, I'm having the author of the book." This was before you had sent me that text. He said, I have the author of the book, Medicine's coming on next week." And I said, "Oh," and I said, "Dr. Botanica." He said, "No, Dr. Whitaker." And I said, "No, Dr. Botanica." He said, "No." Then he puts his phone, because we were on the call like this. It was a Wednesday, and he shows me a picture on his phone. I said, "No, that's not Dr. Botanica." So I was confused a little bit, but then I remembered that Scott Whitaker was the co-author. And the other thing is that when you see the order that's in the book, for some reason, Dr. Botanica, your name appears second, and his name is first. So it looks like that person may have contributed to yours. So with that, I want to go over to you, because that book came out as a result of a dream that you had. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was in December of 2004, and there was nothing that I preconceived during that time. It just came to me in a dream, and there are some other episodes within the dream, but the name stood out, MediSin, and I woke up early. It's like, wow. I mean, and I immediately wrote the title down, and it basically, I kind of sat on it maybe a couple of days or whatever. I said, man, I need to write this title. So I presented the title to the designer of the book, who was Kevin Bryant, with Conversion Marketing at the time. And so he thought it was a phenomenal title. He said, well, let's do it. So I was like, what would you use for the cover? So I'm looking around and surfing the web and looking for a great layout for the cover. And so wherever I found this image of this body undergirding, and it wasn't a copyright on it or anything like that. So I presented it to Kevin, so he kind of relished it and put the toe tag on there. And that was it, and then I created, the subtitle, the causes and solutions to disease, malnutrition, and medical sins that are killing the world. And so as I was, writing the book I didn't actually start writing the book until around January, almost mid-January. So put a lot of time into writing the book and going through a family crisis at the time. So I'm probably maybe about 75% into finishing the book. And so I decided to give Scott a call, because I go back with Scott when I used to work for a store called Wild Oats, which was a very popular health food chain at the time. And that's when I ran into Scott. So he was he was a naturopath. I told me he was a naturopath. So we had been kind of networking. And I said, I'm gonna go ahead and give this brother, give him a shout out. I called him up one night and I said, hey, I got a title of a book. I'm writing this book. And when I gave him the title, I said MediSin. It just blew his mind. And so we continued we incorporated what he added to the book. And then the book was published in April 2005 through a company called Rising Sun, another brother that I helped start a actual health food store in 1997, and which is still open right to this day. So matter of fact, if you ever heard of the Willie Lynch letter or Willie Lynch syndrome, this brother published that book. So he started. So we probably ran the book out, and so it started becoming very popular. But I kind of stood back, and as far as the name, being kind of like the humble brother I am, I didn't, even though it was an era, and I kind of when the names were switched around, I never made a big deal out of it, right? So that was fine. So I presented the manuscript to Dick.
Dick, for those who don't know.
Dick Gregory.
Okay.
Yeah, so and to Dick Gregory. And for those of you who have heard Dick in person or lecture, how upfront and his personality. And so, excuse my French, but he said, "Nigga, they gonna kill you," if you wrote this book, And so I showed him a couple, but he said, "I would endorse the book because of you." He said, "So just I think it's a great book." just be mindful. So he endorsed the book, and from that point, it was history. I do have a lot of gratitude for my co-author for being diligent and putting it out there, because I was going through a family crisis at the time, and he had the tenacity, so he made the contacts, and from that point, he had started navigating around doing venues. After I started getting into the transition of making that Moorish transition, I didn't want to have anything else to do with that name. So since it was already registered with the Library of Congress and all this, so I just left it alone. And though I was making some sales and things like that, but I kind of like walked away from it for various reasons. And so several years later, I started to go ahead and get into writing another book. But it at that time, when Dick Gregory was alive, I presented the book to him again, along with NutriSins. And so, that was in 2017. So when, of course, he passes at that time. So I went into writer's block. So just sat on it for a while. But I'm still grateful for what the co-op what Dr. Whitaker had did to getting the book out. I cannot take that back. But I am proud to say that I had created the book, the cover, things like that. But Dr. Whitaker was certainly instrumental in the book.
And it's interesting. I heard what I heard you say, and because I go through blocks, and probably some of our listeners may be trying to thinking about a book, and it's been in them for a long time. And I've seen other authors, very successful author, and I'm trying to remember his name. He was Albion, but I remember him saying that each time he got an idea for a new book, he normally got the idea for the cover. And so what he would do is go, and I believe it may even have been Dr. Wayne Dyer, but he would go and get the cover printed, and he would wrap that cover. He would get a mock-up of the cover, and he would wrap that cover around a book, and even like a book that was like a journal or whatever. But that would be his motivation to write the book, because now he had, he visually had something in front of him that you've written this book. His name is on there, the title is there. All he needs is the meat inside. And so the fact that you got the title first and the cover was designed, and then you started working on this book. And when you say you had completed about 75%, what about how many pages does that book contain anyway?
Well, the pages you talk about a 406 page book basically, and so there's a lot of pages. So again, in writing the book, of course, editing it together, there were some other inserts that Dr. Whitaker put in, but the actual titles and things like that of each chapter, a lot of the chapters I came up with. It's like why the religious faithful are not disease free. Why was America really afraid of a weed called hemp? Hysterectomies. He came up with one. His titles like "Vaccine the Lie to Needle," which was a very, very good chapter that he had written. The germ theory between Louis Pasteur and Antoine Béchamp. The Bureau of Chemistry with Dr. Harvey Wiley. Because my whole thing with MediSin, I wanted to give people a history behind the origin of the AMA. Okay, and that was my thing, was to give them illustrations, because there's a lot of factors involved in the history of Western medicine that people have never seen. They saw things about herbs and things like that, but they had never actually seen, unless you go into a lot of the old books, where you can actually, like, for example, most people have never heard of Milbank Johnson, okay, who was a medical doctor in Pasadena, who was so intrigued by Raymond Rife, who created the microscope that could actually magnify about 60,000 times. The microscope weighed about 200 pounds, had over like several thousand parts to it. And he could actually see when he discovered that cancer was a virus. And, and Milbank Johnson billed the banquet at that time as the end to all diseases. So he invited around 40 of the most prominent doctors from around the country to this banquet. Okay. And so, unfortunately, the authorities sent every doctor a letter stating that if you ever mention anything about this type of modality or procedure or testing, you will lose your license. You'll never be able to practice medicine again. And Milbank Johnson ended up mysteriously passing not too long after that. So, so I want to give people, it's like the Bureau of Chemistry. Most people never knew about Dr. Harvey Wiley and the Bureau of Chemistry. Well, the purpose of the Bureau of Chemistry back in the early 1900s was to protect the quote unquote consumer. You couldn't just put like we have today, GMOs and aspartame, all these different things that cause neurological damage, or what they call excitotoxins today. A lot of refined food. You couldn't have that through because of that department. So Dr. Harvey Wiley was supposed to be a humanitarian, and they had what they called a poison squad. So he would hire healthy men that would consume these adulterated foods. And if they would make them ill, they would question if they should allow it to enter the market, just like the FDA does with drugs. That was a department that protected the consumer from toxic food. So most people have never heard of that department. So it was just so you
were given history. You were given a lot of the history of this, because a lot of times people need facts. They need some facts. And just to, I've heard this story before, but I'm fascinated by Brother Dave, by your story, I want to call it your testimony of how you got into holistic health, because it was based on your own health crisis. Can you tell us about that?
Okay. So back in 2004, I was diagnosed with an incurable liver disease. And I was at a crossroads where the upper GI specialist that I had saw was recommending that I get a liver biopsy done to determine whether or not my liver was cancerous. And I knew in my spirit that it was not the right thing for me to do. So I refused to get the liver biopsy done. People talk about prayer. Prayer is very, very important in times of crisis. And I really prayed on it, what I should do. And I was led in a direction of a man by the name of Dr. Frank Wyatt, who was a naturopathic doctor. And I had to wait 3 months before I could see him. But what he had did is he had set up a system of what he called in the meantime, with some students that he had trained to be able to assess you until you were able to see him. And so it was my first introduction to kinesiology, which is the science of muscle testing. But if you see it done and you've never seen it before, for those who don't understand the science, might become scared or afraid because they think it's voodoo or something and get spooked out. But it is a very, very valid and ancient science. And as I was watching this student put her hand over my liver and then take herbs and check to see if the energy matched, I was fascinated at it. And what happened was, what did not have the energy, she would put those particular herbs to one side, and what herbs had strong energy, she put to the other side, until she came up with a regimen for me to do. And so I started to take the regimen as directed, and I immediately started to feel better. My energy was coming back. I was able to work out. Anybody who has had a liver imbalance knows that it can be very frightening. I could be talking to you at 1 minute and the next minute feel like I'm going to drop dead. So it's a very scary experience when you're going through that. And then, you know, my liver was swollen also at the time, so I could like feel it, you know, on my right side, and it would hurt. And so taking these herbs, I was starting to feel better. You know, I immediately noticed the difference in my energy, you know, and how I felt. And so when I got to see Dr. Wyatt, those 3 months later, the man was telling me stuff in my consultation with him about, you know, what I experienced in my life. And I never told him, and he was dead accurate. Because he says that you're the sum total of everything from birth. So to have a doctor be able to look at you and evaluate you and find out, you know, where your imbalances are, and to understand and know, you know, what is the root cause of why you got the condition in the first place, it's priceless to see someone with that kind of knowledge. And, you know, he put me on a regimen, and at this time I was taking like 22 different herbs. But I didn't mind because I wanted to get well. Now, it's a lot of pills to take, but what I would do is I would open them up and put them in some juice and drink it. And some herbs are stronger than others, so some of them were quite bitter, but I didn't care. I wanted to be well. But the medical doctors could not figure out how was I getting well, and I did not take any drugs. And so it came down to a point where my primary care doctor said to me, are you doing anything? And I showed him my regimen, and he looked at it, and he shook his head, and he said, I don't know where these people come from. But the truth came out, because as he was denying the fact that, you know, what I was doing was good, he told the truth anyway. When he handed me back my regimen and looked at me and said, what is he trying to do? Turn you into a Superman or something? I knew right then and there that I was doing the right thing, because who wouldn't want to be a Superman? He didn't say, well, what is he trying to do? Kill you. He says, what is he trying to do? Turn you into a Superman. And so they sent me to the university. Well, I won't name the hospital, but they sent me there. And what happened was, the upper GI specialist there wanted me to run additional tests. Now, they already had blood work from me, and they wanted to take additional tests. And I told them no, because I said, I'm not taking any more blood tests because I know I'm better. I know I'm well. My energy is back. I feel great. I know how I felt when I was sick, and I know how I feel now. So no more blood tests. I'm not doing any more. So she said to me, and Dr. Wyatt taught me about the power of words. Words have power. And she looked at me and she said to me, she said, well, now that we planted the seed in your head, you might want to think about getting it done. And I looked and I said, planted the seed in my head? Oh, wow. So I just immediately dismissed that. 2 weeks later, they called me. I'm driving home. I have them on speakerphone. They say to me, oh, we don't know what happened, but your body fought off the virus and it's gone. And I started laughing, because I'm like, well, you didn't really have to tell me that, because I know how I feel, you know? But what it did is it set me on the path to where I am now, because I said, okay, you told me this was incurable. So it wasn't incurable. So I always tell my clients that there's no incurable disease, just the knowledge of how to cure it. And that's the difference.
Yes.
You know? And, you know, and once I got that, and I went back to Dr. Wyatt, I said, I have to learn this. I understand what my purpose is. And so I trained under him for 7 years, went around the country with him. And then I went to the same school he went to, which was Trinity School of Natural Health, and became board certified master herbalist. but I'm trained in other modalities like iridology, sclerology, and pupil border dynamics, and also Rayet model, which is a modality that is taught by Dr. Denny Johnson. And what that is, Rayet model is a personality iridology. So you actually see people's personalities in their eyes as well.
Wow,
So that's my story.
Wow.
Well, listen,
Wow.
we talk, good transition to talk about, and since we're already talking about mentors, because a lot of the great mentors and holistic and naturopathic doctors have been under attack for many, many years. And we suspect that the same is what happened to Dr. Wyatt. Am I correct?
Yes.
So, yeah. Talk a little bit, if you can, about the mentorship portion of it. And then I want, I know, Dr. Botanica, you have mentors also. And I happen to check out Dr. Love on YouTube. I like his spirit. But tell us about Dr. Wyatt.
Well, Dr. Wyatt was a naturopath that developed his own system of diagnosing different imbalances in the body, which he called the blueprint. And what that is that everybody is walking around with energy points on their body. The same system, meridian system, that is basically used in acupuncture, but they don't realize that they have these energy points on them. But you can literally, understanding this science, can figure out if a person's deficient in vitamin A, if a person's deficient in vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, because there are points all over your body that are energy points that let you know if you're out of balance. And the information, when you become a master at this science, is dead on accurate. I can tell if you have mineral imbalances, vitamin imbalances. I can tell if you have a virus in the body. I don't have to draw no blood to figure this out. The energy is there. This is an ancient science that our ancestors knew and understood.
Wow.
You understand? But Dr. Wyatt was always one that says, don't be a one-trick pony. So we learned different modalities under him. But that's why I use the eye sciences. I use kinesiology. I use physiognomy, which is the study of the hands, face, and tongue. And I use these different modalities because if the imbalance keeps showing up in the different modalities used, then there has to be a problem. You understand what I'm saying? And what I do is I don't just diagnose symptoms or find out about symptoms. What I do is, what is the root cause of the problem? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I can see 5 different people who, quote unquote, were told they have high blood pressure and find 5 different reasons why they have high blood pressure. One person I might see has high blood pressure because they have a thyroid imbalance. And believe me, the thyroid is directly involved with pressure. Another person could have a high blood pressure problem because of a vitamin D deficiency. Another person could have high blood pressure because they don't get enough sleep. Another person could have high blood pressure because they don't know how to handle stress. And I'll be able to find out what is the root. Because if you don't deal with the root, you can't teach them how to overcome it. You understand what I'm saying? Because you can give a person medication all day, but if that person hasn't learned how to control their anger, you don't correct the condition. You understand what I'm saying? Because the anger is the root. So and we even know it sometimes when we say things like, you got me so upset, my pressure went up. So we these things, that how the mood can drive that, that pressure to go up, But if that's a problem that you have, then you need to work on that. Or if you're a person who has high blood pressure because you don't get enough sleep, then guess what? You need to get more rest. You see what I'm saying? In addition to taking the supplements. You see what I'm saying? We need to work on the emotional and spiritual conditions as well in order to bring the person back into balance, because it is holistic. You see what I'm saying? So we have to deal with it all. You know what I mean? You can't treat a person with high blood pressure if the root of the high blood pressure problem is a kidney infection that never got corrected.
It's true.
You understand what I'm saying? And that happens. You know, I've seen it happen. You know, men who have been you know, told that they have some kind of venereal disease and was given, you know, antibiotics, but chemical antibiotics don't get rid of the problem, it masks the problem. And so later on, years later, they could come and to a doctor and get told that they have high blood pressure, but the high blood pressure is the result of a kidney infection or a bladder infection that never got corrected. And so if you don't fix that, you can't correct the high blood pressure condition.
And we're running around with a lot of stress these days. And I'm just, when I say we're, I'm talking about the collective, given the last, 12 months or so that not just the nation, but the world has undergone and is still undergoing. There's probably a lot more instances of blood pressure, high blood pressure, mental stress and mental illness that's cropping up. I mean, I'm hearing of people, committing murder suicides and, children, killing themselves just because of just the change that it was so abrupt for many people that is causing, an imbalance. And you're right. Everything is energy, and I'm an energy worker as a Reiki practitioner. And then I'm I have two other energy products that I'm doing the AO scan and you're right. Rife technology and all that stuff. Tesla, they took the old sciences that we had and they overstood it and overstood it and then brought it to a place where others have been utilizing these modalities in secret while we get pumped with poisons, with the medicines. So and when did Dr. Wyatt transition?
In 2011.
2011. Yeah, and he was a relatively young man
Yes,
at
55.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yes, he was a year younger than me.
It was a very spiritual journey with him. There's things that I seen him do, and even the last day that we spoke was spiritual because it was June 19th, 2011. It was Father's Day. Was the last day that me and him had conversation.
Wow.
And so it was a very, very very good journey for me. And I learned so much from him and so in debt to him, and I thank him every day for helping me, learn this knowledge, and I always, and Dr. G, because you seen me before do lectures, and I never do a lecture without giving him his due.
Yes. Yes, that is true. That is true. Dr. Botanica, I know you've had a lot of great naturopaths and scientists and so forth that you've studied under, but then there's one in particular, Dr. George Love, and he's still here with us. So tell us besides, we know that you were a mentor, or a confidant, if you will, of the great Baba Dick Gregory, and a lot of us know of him, because he was, but Dr. Love, he's in Florida, right?
Yes,
I watched you doing Qigong. Tell us about your relationship with Dr. Love.
Well, as Brother Bey and I was discussing, a lot of this, all this is divine. There's a purpose. Brother Day. First of all, I want this brother. I'm heart to heart with this brother already, because he told me about Dr. Wyatt, and I just took a back seat, and like I said, nothing is by coincidence. I was in Vegas in 1994. Now, it was my very first industry show, the Natural Nutritional Food Association. And in this industry, it's a phenomenal industry, but very few of our Asiatic people are involved, at least at that time. So, I get settled at the hotel and decide to go out, to the casino, So the very first person, I walk up these stairs to the gambling, whatever you call a one-armed bandit. First person I see is Dick Gregory. Okay, so I met Dick on the way in and met Dr. Love on the way out.
Wow.
So I mean, it was just divine. So I'm in the process of enrolling in the International College of Traditional Chinese Medicine that year in New Mexico, right? So George also, I mean, I'm telling him about what I'm planning to do. He's like, "You need to come to my school." I said, "Your school?" He said, "Yeah." His wife and he and his wife at the time had a school called the Kitchen Physician School of Natural Healing, which was in Boca Raton. And fast forwarding, I went down there, and it was nothing short of dramatic. I was at 242 pounds at that time. And George said, "You're going to drop that, we're going to get that weight off of you. You're going to go into something called juice feasting." It was the first time I ever, heard of juice feasting. And so I went into my very first bona fide juice fast. Within 3 weeks, I went from 242 pounds to 208 pounds. We ran every morning, either around the center or on the beach for about 45 minutes to an hour before I put anything in my stomach. Calisthenics, of course, Qigong, he's a master Blue Dragon Qigong. And it was just, again, amazing. And I learned so much from Dr. Love. I mean, basically, the knowledge that I have today, I have to give him a lot of the credit because I was able to incorporate what he taught me, even more than I learned from the International College of Traditional Chinese Medicine. So I was able to address practically all health concerns using, he was one of the most charismatic people you ever want to meet, along with his wife at the time, who was from Iran, who's she's just a guru. So I learned about holistic culinary arts, traditional Chinese medicine, tongue diagnosis, things like that. And it was phenomenal. And so, again, it created the platform for me to help many people over the years. Now, mind you, I have been studying, as I say, since 9-10 years old. And I was diabetic at the time when I was younger, but I had never experienced prescription drugs. But even right to this day, the information that he shared with me at that time is still in my head. It's ingrained in my head, and I still apply that to any protocol that I implement. I apply those principles of like traditional Chinese medicine, and I just had the opportunity to meet many people by coincidence. Dr. Lynn Horowitz, who's a Harvard scholar who wrote the book Emerging Viruses, I had the opportunity to meet a world-renowned German physician and correspond with him, Dr. Matthias Rath, who was Linus Pauling's, who's a two-time Nobel Prize winner protege. So Charlotte Gerson, who was the daughter of Max Gerson, who was very successful in treating cancer, which still stands right to this day. So I just had even when you talk about divine order, like us three, it's just like when I came from Baba Dick Gregory's funeral, I had been following Grand Sheik for several years. Okay, and I was on the Amtrak, and lo and behold, I run into him. So all this is divine, you know. And as a matter of fact, even as a little boy, I was referred to as Doc, you know. And so it's been a great journey, and I look forward to collaborating with Brother Bey from this point on. I mean, again, the spirit that he projects is phenomenal.
Yes, he's awesome. He's awesome. I'm looking in the comments, and I see a couple people talking about high blood pressure. Here's a person, Brian Russell, says, I'm on 6 blood pressure meds and I need your help. I need your information, please. I mean, 6. I mean, I actually take 1, but I actually haven't taken it for a while. I've been on this regimen of working out. I go to a personal trainer twice a week. And It's funny because she's trying very desperately to get me to add at least 2 more days a week, not with her, but at home. And I get so busy, you know, with phone calls and all that. And she's made some serious, you know, points like, can you shut your phone off for an hour and work out, or a half hour? Is it your health more? Is your health that, you know, more important than answering calls? Don't they still have answering machines? Cheryl, yes, I can, but I have, you know, doing it, but I just haven't really gotten into it. But what I found that with just the 2 times a week, I'm seeing a difference. And my chiropractor said, but the science, she said, twice a week you're like this, but she said this, when you add that third, she said it shoots the stats shoot up significantly with the changes in your body by just adding a 3rd day. And I've known this for about a month and a half of my chiropractor telling me. And you know, but what I'm saying, the point I'm making is, you hear things that you're told things that will help you, and it's getting your mind and your body in line to actually doing these things, or getting all of the herbs and not having a house full of herbs because you can't get the benefit from by osmosis. You know, you can't just get it in your house. You know what I mean? I'm like, first, that's the same thing with my trainer. You know, she's like, XYZ thing. I was like, oh, I got that. And you all be like the same thing here with books and different things. Almost anything that somebody says, I could go, got that right there. Oh, I've got that over here. Yeah, I got 2 of them here. And they went, well, why don't you use them? You know what I mean? And so, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And we are there. There are certain. What would you each of you and recommend to boost the immune system during the times that we're now, because we need more? So I would think, and this is just my opinion, I feel like we have a strong virus of the mind. And so
you go.
Yeah. And because all is mind, the mind is, has people, begging to know when they can, roll up their sleeve and take something that potentially might, take them out. But, I heard a person say this, and I believe this, that, in some states or some places where, we got thousands that are getting it, that's a different dosage. I heard an Albion, not one of us, say they have different doses for different people.
I can believe that.
Yeah. So, you might not, this jar might be for these people, this vial and this vial might be for those people. And the one over here may not do anything, but, maybe make your arm itch a little bit where it is. But then that other one may take you out. You know what I mean? So yes. What would you recommend from a standpoint of, and I have some, things like I do with energy that I have systems where I can turn on, and it actually has energy that puts you in right vibration against the CV. I call it the CV. So I have some stuff like that, but not everybody can do that, right? So what can we do to enforce and enhance our immune systems and our minds? Because again, I start out with, it's a virus of the mind.
Well, Dr. Wyatt used to always say it. He said the number one cause of sickness is negative thinking. And so you can set yourself up for sickness just by your thoughts. So one thing that I would suggest in these times is to think positive. Okay. Don't give in to the noise, because fear will wreak havoc in your body. You cannot be afraid. Okay. You cannot be afraid. And you can't get caught up in the numbers, because you don't know if those numbers are factual. So you can't get caught up in the numbers. That is sensationalism. There have been doctors that have been on record saying that they were forced to put COVID-19 as the cause of death, even when they knew it wasn't. Now, if a couple of them will come out there and admit that, then you know that it's a lot of them out there that are pronouncing COVID-19 when it's not. Back in 2012, I did a lecture on the upper respiratory system, and from 2007, now this was from 2007 to 2012, the average numbers of death from upper respiratory disease, according to the CDC, was 400,000 Americans a year. This is before COVID-19. So people were dying from things like COPD, pneumonia, and other upper respiratory infections long before this even came along.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But most of it is coming from not taking care of yourself, not eating correctly, not supplementing to keep your immune system strong. There are things historically in nature that Allah, the Creator, has put there for us, that are known virus killers, that are known. First of all, we have to understand, what does that word mean? It's Latin. The etymology of that word is Latin for poison. Your system has been poisoned. And so therefore, there are plants in the kingdom that are known to eradicate viruses. Okay? And I do them. You know what I mean? And I can tell if I have a virus, because keep this in mind, that viruses always existed, but man named them. Okay? God never wrote anything about COVID-19 in scripture, but there were viruses in scripture. But nothing about COVID-19, H1N1. These are viruses that are named by man. And if you don't think that's the truth, you could go and look at the U.S. patent and see that COVID-19 has already been patented, as all the other viruses were. You understand what I'm saying? Dr. Botanica, people don't realize, like, when they talked about H1N1, right? I know you're a master researcher. If you did your research, you would see that they said that it came from farmers in Nova Scotia being in close contact with pigs. And I used to tell people all the time, well, you can't get any closer than eating it.
That's so true.
You understand what I'm saying? This animal is known to carry 999 different viruses and bacteria. If you do the research as far as eating right for your blood type, it is the one food. It is the, am I right, Doc? It is the one food that all blood types should stay away from. Okay? Listen, the Army did a study. This was years ago. I wasn't even into this knowledge back then when I read this. I read it in a Jet magazine. It said it was doing a study on why the South has such a high rate of chlamydia. And what they came to the determination was that the high rate of chlamydia was due to the high consumption of pork.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why would chlamydia? Why would a disease like gonorrhea? Why would a disease like syphilis could be related to eating pork? Because if you have an animal that carries 999 different viruses and bacteria, well, what do you think syphilis and gonorrhea is? It's a bacterial strain.
It's a bacterial strain. Exactly.
Okay? So
Exactly.
consuming this animal, and we were told this in scripture, you are what you eat.
Exactly.
And you were told to stay away from it. And you were told to stay away from it in all scripture, in the Torah, in the Bible, and in the Quran. You were told to stay away from it.
Exactly. Along with all of the scavenger animals.
Exactly. And so when you consume this stuff and you get these diseases, you're not making the connection. Eat correctly. You understand what I'm saying? Keep your mind strong.
Exactly.
You know? And understand that it's not just you, but your partner also has to be of the same mindset and the clean diet. Why? Because energy is transferable.
Exactly.
Okay. So if you are transferring energy among your partner and your partner is not right, then guess what? It transfers to you.
Exactly.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to say, just like when you talk about transmitting chlamydia and all these things as sexually transmitted, is just because the exchange of fluids and connection, but it's not that that's where the source is. It started in what that person or those persons consumed.
Exactly. I mean, at a cellular level, I mean, most people don't realize what they consume today on the commercial market is not food, it's bulk matter. It fills their belly. You know, it gives them a certain amount of protein. But again, you can look and see. You know, you look at statistics. How many of our people are challenged with every disease across the board, from hypertension, diabetes, autoimmune disease. You travel all over the country, you see the number of our sisters that have thyroid surgery.
Yes.
You know, you're looking at the dialysis centers. You know, this is coming from the bulk matter, the toxic food, and the adulterated food, the irradiated food. As I stated when I was on the show before, you know, though I do consume some animal protein, but rest assured it's going to be halal. It's not going to be something from a commercial market, because that animal suffered before it was even slaughtered, and it was slaughtered inhumanely. So you're taking in negative frequencies. Okay, you're taking in various levels of toxicity. You know, so people, and I find it hard when I consult with people, and I'm like, you have to go vegetarian for a while. You have to refrain because you still have undigested fecal matter from animal consumption, maybe 10 years ago. You have never eliminated. You have amyloid plaque that's trapped into the mucosa of the colon. Most people have never detoxified. So you're looking at when you're consuming, not to mention the stress level that people are enduring right now, and you're incorporating toxic food.
Yes.
You're a walking time bomb. You are a walking time bomb, and again, going into the swine. Yeah, it's in every scripture that you should have avoid the swine. And again, you're looking at it's not just the hypertension. People that have arthritic symptoms, that's a manifestation of consuming pork, because that Trechnine worm does not die. It gets into the cellular level. It gets into the bone area where it appears you have arthritis. You know, you look at people right now, they're in their, like, it's 35, 40 years aching. You know, they can't, you know, if you ask them to do about a half an hour of calisthenics at 30, you know, matter of fact, about 7 years ago, there was a grade school marathon. And that grade school marathon, it was probably between 110, 116, 117 kids, right? offspring, and we were running around this trail. I was number 11. I came in 11th. These children were so out of shape was because of the toxic food that they're consuming from day one of birth. You know, those have no nutritional value. The molecular structure in what they consume today is not found in nature, just like medicines. Anything, the reason you don't recover because you're consuming something that contains a molecular structure that's found in nature, and if it does not contain life, it cannot give life. We have to start consuming things that contribute to cell life. I mean, you go all the way down to the mitochondria, and Dr. Brother Dave can elaborate on that. You know, we have a whole universe within our body, but we have created such toxicity along with stress, and like Brother Dave has said, we have to be able to manage our attitude. We have to be able to elevate our spirit.
Yeah.
We are sun people. You know, they're telling us to stay in the house, you know, protect yourself. Instead of you, again, fearing God don't occupy the same space.
No.
And you're receiving messages from a people who are behind the Tuskegee experiment.
Yes.
Who are behind the SV40, who are behind so many different human experiments. Matter of fact, you know, it's all on Google. If you do your due diligence, you'll find all the information that we're sharing is very valid. So until we start gravitating as a people to the Most High and a divine order of living, of eating, of everything that we consume needs to be live, and it needs to be it has to have bona fide nutritional value.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I have recently, I guess it was last year, there was a commercial, maybe year before last, that started running, and it would say 1 out of 3 people born between the ages of between 1955 and 1965 may have Hep C and not know it. And I got to thinking, 1 out of 3 between this age and this period, then that had to be the time that they were putting the strain in the vaccines. So some folks, you know, every time they're able to say, you know, they came out with the Gardasil that for HPV. You need to get your children vaccinated because to guard against it. And young men and women are getting, physically, getting sick, maimed, and have died after taking these things, this vaccination. So it seems like it's experiment after experiment after experiment, you know,
Absolutely.
for the purpose, I would assume, of, you know, reducing the population over a period of time. Like I said, I firmly believe that, and somebody said it in the comments, that first responders, those people, they're probably not getting the dosage that will make them sick, even though some of them will get sick. They're not giving them that because they need to be shown as, okay, if they're giving it to all these healthcare workers and it's safe for them, then it's safe for you.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have to be, you know, wise as serpents and gentle as doves. And I think 2020, if nothing else, should have opened the eyes of some of the people who were blind. They have got to see, and this is, and the more your eyes are open, the more you can go back and realize that this is not new. It's just that you're looking at an event from a different perspective. But this is, you know, this is 1955 and 1945, and this is, you know, when there have been so many other things, like you said, you mentioned Tuskegee and others. This is not new. This is not.
No, Doc, I'm sorry, but
go ahead.
What I wanted to say is that, you know, we have been victims of being over medicated. I have a client in Vegas that was diagnosed with cancer of the bones and muscle tissue, and you know, they had this person on 50,000 international units of vitamin D. And I said, that's crazy. 50,000 international units of vitamin D. Now, the recommended daily allowance of vitamin D is 400 international units. Am I right, Dr. Botanica?
Exactly.
So
Right.
give somebody 50,000 international units of vitamin D. What do you think is happening there? Just the opposite of what you thought it was intended to do. In other words, you thought it was improving and strengthening your bones and giving you all the wonderful things that vitamin D gives. But guess what? When it's in massive dosage, it causes just the opposite. Bone loss. You see what I'm saying? Tiredness. You understand what I'm saying? This person also was given testosterone injection. A young man. I said, what are you getting these testosterone injections for? But see, this is the new thing that's going on, that everybody wants to get all this extra testosterone. But do you know that excessive testosterone does the exact opposite of why you're taking it? Because you're taking it because you think it's going to improve your libido. It's going to give you stamina so that you can work out like a superhuman. And then you're taking this stuff, right? Like your commercials with Frank Thomas, the former baseball player. Frank, you look great. What are you doing? Look like you can still play ball. Yeah, I'm feeling great. Yes, this is really good stuff. Yes, and it makes you, and it does wonders for you in the bedroom. And we'll give you a free bottle.
Get you hooked.
Free? What? It does just the opposite.
Exactly.
Excessive testosterone causes testicle shrinkage, causes low libido, causes low sperm count.
Wow.
So you're taking it in excess, thinking that you're building yourself up to this superhuman person, and it's doing just
the opposite.
Exactly. You know, it's just like people. You see people getting into this vigorous workout. I mean, they're all in the gym and working out hard and, you know, lifting all these weights and running on concrete. They're tearing their body down.
Yes.
But you go over to Asia, or you take things like Qigong or Tai Chi, these people are just as physically fit, even stronger, because the body is maintaining balance. And the physical health is about balance. It's like when we were talking about hypertension. You can't, until you look, as Brother Bey has said, until you look at the underlying cause of your hypertension, of your diabetes, of your cancer. Everybody has a different physical constitution. Everybody has a different blood type. Everybody has a different lifestyle. So we have to look at the underlying cause of what is, you know, causing you to, as you say, you have low libido or low testosterone, or you have hormone imbalance. You know, we have to look at these underlying causes. And, you know, doctors don't talk about, oh, you need maybe getting into an adaptogen, your adrenal system or your endocrine system is compromised. You know, again, when you talk about stress and fear, you know, along with poor diet, your whole body is diseased. So you have to get back into balance, you know, and so it's just not, it's like, you know, Brother Day, you know, when people, like you said, you know, on the infomercial, right?
Yes.
It's like they get you with that television programming.
Yes.
And as the whole old song by Stevie Wonder, Superstition, if you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer. Yeah. You know, so we have television programming has disconnected us from divine laws or the high science of intuition.
Yes.
You know, so we're following man's law and do this and do that. And instead of, you know, really getting into balance, and I always highly suggest, you know, you contact someone like Brother Bey or myself for guidance, because what happens is you end up wasting a whole lot of money. You're buying all these supplements and you really have never addressed the underlying cause. It could be just something as simple as dehydration.
Yes.
Most people don't consume water. Most
Yeah.
people don't stretch in the morning. You see in America, most people have gastrointestinal problems like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, and things like that, acid reflux, because they follow the commercial protocol of consuming cold water while they're eating food.
Yes.
You know, so and so those are just some of the under. There's so many people, and I'm sure Brother Bey has seen many people with gastrointestinal problems for the simple fact they have improper food combining, and they don't keep themselves hydrated.
Exactly. Yes, and that's real truth. And the thing about it is that a lot of us um can very easily correct a lot of our health issues just by changing the diet and making sure that you're drinking plenty of water. A lot of us have back problems just because we're not drinking enough water. And you'll get surgery done and you know all this done to your back and you're still having pain, and it all came from the fact that you just didn't drink enough water. You have to drink water. You're over 75% water. So you're actually more water than you are solid mass. And so therefore, if you're not drinking enough water, it's going to have a major effect on you. And I tell people all the time, nothing replaces water. Not Gatorade, not tea, not anything, soda, nothing replaces H2O. You have to drink water. It is so important. So very, very important, but so overlooked. You know what I'm saying? And it's very easy for me to tell if a person's dehydrated because what'll happen is their body will form a lean to the left, which is the sodium side. So they'll lean. And from that lean, I can tell, oh, you're dehydrated. You haven't been drinking enough water. And I'll say it. I say, oh, you've been drinking water, have you? How'd you know that? Hey, the body tells it all. The body, I tell people all the time, the body is all truth. You may lie out your mouth, but your body is truth. It is the temple of God. So therefore, your body's going to tell what it needs, even if you are in denial.
And the thing is, when you were mentioning about the again, you're seeing this astronomical intake of vitamin D, 50,000 units and things like that, which is ridiculous.
Yes.
The body is, again, it's about, and you're looking at people, again, different blood types, different weights, different size, different, just different conditions. And they're generalizing these drugs.
Yeah.
And so, there is, because most people will ask us, okay, what can I take for my immune system? Well, we can't necessarily generalize it, but there's so many different modalities. And like I said, we were talking about the magic in the modalities. There is literally magic in every herb, perennial, any botanical that's out there, that it has magic because it has the ability to repair the damage, whether it be enzymes, whether it be from a papaya, avocado, bromelain from the pineapple, from celery. You're seeing now there are books out now how celery cleans out the arteries and things like that. Well, all these things are actual. The food is medicine.
Yes.
Food is medicine. So, but everybody has a different physical constitution, and we talk a lot about blood type. So because if you're consuming certain foods, your body may not be able to metabolize that substance because of the chemistry involved. And this is how the system keeps us ignorant. Everyone should have, everyone that went through grade school should have had chemistry 101 or biology 101 in a grade school level. It should have to be something that we have to make a decision. No, it should be mandatory, obligatory that you have these, because you need to get closer to nature. And the vast majority of our people are so far away from nature that we've become disobedient because they've been programmed through television programming. It's just like in one of the information about Edward Bernays, who was Sigmund Freud's nephew, who created the mindset of bacon and eggs for breakfast. So they started advertising, billboards showing this middle class family smiling at a table with bacon and eggs. So people bought into that. It's just like back in the 50s and 60s, doctors were paid by the tobacco companies to write articles that it was okay even for pregnant women to smoke. So the television programming has actually intercept and compromise our high science and our connection with natural law.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely has. You know, the thing about it, you know, why among the industry that herbs are always classified as there's no real proven studies is because the truth of the matter is you can't patent a herb. You can't patent what's natural. You know, I've had clients that came to see me, you know, women that had difficult menstrual cycles and suffered for years with it, and you know would go to a medical doctor and was given a drug called Listita. And if you research Listita, it will tell you that Listita is a genetically modified version of the amino acid L-lysine. So why would you give a woman Listita and not the amino acid L-lysine, which does the same exact thing as far as helping her control the heavy bleeding? Why would you do that? Because you can't patent an amino acid. But if you genetically alter it in a laboratory and now rename it and call it Listita, you can patent that because you recreate it. Okay? So you GMO'd an amino. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, that's what we have to understand. You know, it's that some herbs are used in modern day medicine, but it has been genetically altered from its original state in order to apply a patent to it. Because you can't patent it in its natural state. You cannot patent what comes from Allah.
Exactly.
So which means that if there is a patent on the V, that they created it. Whatever was natural was modified to become weaponized and to be able to be patented, because you can't patent something that is natural. But you remember, Brother Dave, and we noticed this particularly past summer, spring, summer, that growing in my yard in front and back were all kinds of strange plants that, you know, I snapped some pictures of and sent to you, and you were like, you were so excited because there was one herb, one wild weed or something that was growing that was good for respiratory stuff, and then I went on and I got picture this, and then I was going to town with picture this.
White clover.
Right. Well, what I'm saying with the app picture this, you could take a picture and then it would tell you immediately what it was and what it was good for. I mean, I had about 7 different things growing in my yard that out of the blue that had, you know, I mean, all kinds of things. And it was, you know, it was just interesting. And Dr. Be Serious told me this some years ago. He said, normally whatever you need is growing within feet of where you live, where you domicile. And it's true. And a front lawn and in the back where things started growing, that when I looked up their now I never took anything except for the dandelions. But I never took anything out and tried to do anything with it. Didn't know what to do with it or how to, but there were things growing that had medicinal purposes. And they were right in the yard.
See, nature loves you, and if you love nature back, it will be good to you. You know, this past year, 2020, and this reason why we did the show, Doc, about the how to protect yourself in a time of a pandemic, because I started to notice that in the early spring, when normally I would see dandelion growing, I was seeing all these white flowers. And it was white clover. And I said, oh, okay. Well, white clover is an herb that is used to protect you against upper respiratory diseases. That's nature protecting you. All right around
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
but it just goes to show you, you know, how nature will change. Where did all the yellow dandelion that normally grow there, where did that go, and how did that get replaced by the white clover? Because nature knew that that's what you needed at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying in the Quran that says, man plans and Allah plans. But Allah is the best of all planners.
All planners, right.
And so therefore, in nature, anything that is devised against you, nature will counteract it.
Exactly.
But you have to be in tune. You have to be in tune. You have to recognize. You have to ask for clearance, or you have to ask Allah for vision to see, what is around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you start living an everyday life, the everyday hustle and bustle, living in fear, stressed out, guess what you become blinded to? Your surroundings.
Exactly.
Pay attention to your surroundings. You will know that you will have the answers right in front of you.
Yeah, and you want to be discerning. And, you know, one of the things Bob and Dick always put an emphasis on, that money is not power. Information is power. And so if we open up our mind and to what is surrounding us and all the beauty and all the magnificent, like I said, the magical modalities around us. And one of my approaches to people, regarding medicines and money, is I use the Steve Jobs and other celebrities. Steve Jobs, according to research, had over $4 billion in his personal asset, on the bank, and still died of pancreatic cancer. Now, according to history, has been curable for many, many years. It's always been. I mean, going all the way back to Imhotep.
Yeah.
But again, we have allowed these materialistic things to intercept the natural connection we have with nature. To be able, it's like a dog. I mean, the dog, why we won't eat the grass over on this side, but he'll go over on that across the street. Well, that's the intuition. There's something more medicinal in the grass across the street than it was over here. So we have that intuition, but we have allowed commercialization and propaganda, fear mongering, and things like this, like the mask. Well, if you understand virology 101 and how small a virus is, there is no way a mask, okay, it can protect you. I'm like, of the so-called 300 or whatever thousand people pass, I guarantee you that 90% were wearing a mask. So, so there's more magic when you gravitate toward the creator and what he has already gave you within the earth, within the soil, within the water. But again, this is one of the reasons I was telling. I said, why do you think they still promote fluoride in America? And it's been banned in 90% of the countries around the world, because fluoride compromises your freedom of thought. But again, it shows you how we've been disconnected. Most people have been disconnected because you buy something and you don't even read the label.
No.
And it tells you very clearly if it's swallowed, call the poison center, because sodium fluoride is the base of all rat poison. So it's telling you, so I don't, so we've lost that divine connection. And I always get people like, well, what am I supposed to brush my teeth with? I'm like, what are people brushing their teeth with 5,000 our ancestors, going to all the way back to Akupta, brushing their teeth with. And I asked people, I said, why do you think archaeologists can dig up skulls with the remains with the teeth still intact? And most people can't make it past their 40th birthday without losing half their teeth.
I think we talked about it, but in my own personal story, back in 1984, I was getting out of the Marine Corps. And when I went in, right, you have to go through all types of health checks. And, when I got to the dentist was talking about how good my teeth were. Everything was perfectly fine. The only thing that I had was gap, the gap tooth. And other than that, I was fine. So the whole time I'm in the core, never had no problem with my teeth. When it was time for me to get out, you have to go through the same checkpoints that you did when you went in. And the dentist tells me, oh, you have 2 cavities. I'm like, really? 2 cavities? I said, my teeth never bothered me at all. I never had no problems with my teeth. So he drilled in my mouth. He put 2 fillings in, and my teeth hurt for like 2 weeks. And so I always tell people, the greatest science is common sense. I went there with no pain, and I came away with pain. Something wrong with that picture. And so that was 1984. This is now 2021. I've not been to a dentist. I don't have no problems with my teeth. My teeth do not bother me. I don't know what a toothache is like.
Exactly.
And all I do is use natural products on my teeth. I don't know what a toothache is like. The only time I ever experienced pain was that time when he drilled in my mouth. But what I later learned when I learned holistic medicine is that your teeth, really the pain, when you get a pain in your tooth, it's a signal that something's going on internally with an organ. Okay? Because a lot of people don't realize that the teeth are connected to organs. Okay?
Exactly.
One, 2 teeth is connected to your stomach. A lot of people don't know that. You know what I mean? Those teeth that you call the wisdom teeth that everybody get pulled is connected to your kidneys. So when you're having the pain, is it just a toothache or is it an organ out of balance? You understand what I'm saying? And that's the part that's not being looked at. Because I had a client one time, he was complaining about a tooth and he had work done on it and it got infected and he was still constantly having problems with it. And I looked at the tooth that he was giving him a problem, and that tooth was tied into the gallbladder. So I told him, I said, are you having problems making decisions? He said, yeah. He said, because I'm going through this relationship. I don't know whether I want to stay in it or not. And it's really been getting on my nerves. I said, that's where the pain's coming from. Because the gallbladder is tied into decision making. And if you're constantly at odds with trying to make a decision, it can throw your gallbladder out of balance.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. There are, and emotions affect, and this is why we look for comfort food when we're stressed. 15% of the lung cancers are due to people that deal with grief, have never smoked in their life.
There you go.
Yeah. So people can die literally of a broken heart.
Yeah.
So, but again, Brother Dave and Dr. G, the bottom line is we have lost that connection. And so we are victims of the medical sins, and you cannot compare, and I always say you cannot compare 200 years of Western medicine. I don't care what type of technology you have, you cannot catch up to 5,000 years of ancient wisdom.
Absolutely.
You're still behind.
Yep.
You have all the fancy, just like we were talking about, Brother Bey, about you don't need the equipment because, and just like Dr. White, when we talked about, he could tell if one was like eating eggs or chocolate or whatever it may be without even a test. It's that divine intuition.
Yeah.
So we're so caught up in this Western methodology, which is a mechanical methodology, which is out of harmony with nature.
Yeah.
And so this is why we suffer. We suffer. And we were just talking about this. There was a professor that talked about, he called it the biology of belief. So if you allow the white coats to instill something in you, or you allow the so-called authorities to say, like you said about numbers, another 10,000 people died. So you go into panic mode.
Yeah.
So what happens when you go into panic mode? Your adrenals become taxed.
There you go.
Yeah, your digestive becomes compromised. So, you're under stress instead of saying, wait a minute, fearing God, I'm a divine creature. under the almighty creation of Allah, and so you have no fear, and so this is what we've been conditioned to live under the European hybrid world view instead of going back to our ancestors.
Yes.
And using what they and all the time I always say, well, why don't you think Eastern Indian women or Ethiopian women or either Asian women don't suffer like our own women here? Because they thrive on their own ancestral diet.
Yeah.
Well, we unfortunately are victims of the commercialized, adulterated diet.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there was a book that was written by Dr. Weston Price called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. And this is a European Albion. He even stated back in the 30s, the indigenous people have some of the finest teeth and bodies of any being before they became under the influence of the white man's foods of commerce.
Yes.
And that was his quote.
Yeah. There's a book called Choose Life or Death by also a Caucasian doctor by the name of Dr. Carrie Reams, who wrote that for 7 years, he said he tried to prove that pork was safe to eat. He said, but he could not prove it. He said for 7 years, he said it's unclean. It causes all kinds of, sickness, diabetes, high blood pressure. It causes all kinds of different illnesses. He said it's not safe to eat. And he said that he had a client that came to him that was given 6 months to live. He had cancer. And he told this client to eat whatever he wanted for 3 months. And the client, and report back to him everything that he ate. Keep a diary of everything that he ate. So this client was eating pork. I'm talking about every part of the pig. Was eating shrimps, lobster, crabs, all the forbidden foods, right? And when he seen him 3 months later, his condition had gotten worse. Then he took him off of all of that stuff. Took him off of, candy and, stuff like chocolate and stuff like that. Took him off of all of that stuff. Changed his diet. Okay? In the next 3 months, his condition improved. And this man, he said, after he was diagnosed cancer-free, he said he seen him 33 years later. He still was fine.
Wow.
He changed his diet. Diet plays a big part. There's another story that he talks about in the book where he said a guy was coming to him suffering from migraine headaches for years. And this person was at a crossroads because he was about to lose his job because he couldn't stay at work. He's always going to the hospital for these migraines. So Dr. Carrie Reams put him on a regimen that he developed, right? And it worked. It cleared his migraines. The guy came back to Dr. Carrie Reams and said, I want gallons of this stuff. This works. This is the only thing that ever worked. Dr. Carrie Reams told him, you don't need this anymore. He said, what are you talking about? This is the only thing that works. He said, no. All you got to do is stop eating tuna fish. And he said, what? I said, tuna, I love tuna fish. I eat it probably like 3 or 4 times a week for lunch. He said, that's where your migraines are coming from. Wow. Because enzymes in the tuna fish, your body doesn't have the ability to break the enzymes down. It's causing stress on your pancreas, and that's why you're getting the headaches.
Exactly.
Leave tuna fish alone, you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's amazing because most people that a lot of our people love shrimp and crab legs, and it's been scientifically clinically proven that it increases your risk of pancreatic cancer. The other thing about the swine, the pig, to back up what you're saying, is that they had done studies to show how powerful this worm was, or this strychnine.
Yeah.
Worm. They put the pork in the microwave, and once it cooled, they looked at it under the microscope and saw it was still thriving.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't nuke it,
right?
Then what do you think your body can do?
Exactly. Don't eat it.
Yeah.
Don't eat it. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time. You know.
Let's see. Let me see. Listen, look, you all are giving out some great information. I have probably overlooked and ignored. I apologize to the audience. So there have been some questions. One I remember seeing asking about what modalities one would use for iron deficiency. I remember seeing that. If you all would
so there's a point. There's a point on the body that's right below your waistline. That's a test point that I go to see if you are iron deficient. If that area comes up weak, I know you have an iron deficiency. Sometimes diet plays a major part in why a person's iron deficient. If they're eating a lot of starches, Dr. Sebi used to talk about it a lot. You know what I mean? Like eating a lot of beans and stuff cause anemia for a lot of people. Some anemia could be due to the fact that you got internal bleeding somewhere. Usually it's the hemorrhoids. You know, so you know, bleeding in the colon area will cause a lot of anemia problems, or a woman that has this very, very bad menstrual cycle will have anemia problems because of the heavy bleeding. But there are herbs that are very, very good in helping to build your iron count up. Yellow dock being one good herb that's good for that. Mm-hmm. And there's several others. I actually have a formula that's very good for you know, dealing with anemia. But building it up naturally is the thing. You know what I'm saying? One food that's fabulous for building up your iron count is beets.
Mm-hmm.
Beets is very good. Drinking beet juice, very good. And I can remember when I was a child, you know, I was a chubby little kid, and the doctor used to tell my mom that I was anemic, and my mom like, oh, he ain't anemic. He's a little chubby fat boy. He ain't anemic. And the doctor said, yeah, he's anemic. But the doctors back then, what they didn't do, the doctors do today, is they didn't give my mom a prescription for me to take some chemical iron that was going to constipate me.
Exactly.
Worse. You know what those doctors told my mom? Give him some beets.
Beets, exactly.
Give him some beets. And beets do that for me to this day. If I don't take the anemia formula, what I'll do is I'll get me a glass of beet juice and drink that, and it's like me drinking like Popeye when he's eating spinach. I get so much energy from beet juice. Why? Because it's nature's natural blood builder. You know, you remember, Doc, when I did the lecture at the House of Reawakening Minds on the Doctor and the Signatures. And I told you that the beet looked, this is how wonderful Allah is. He'll even put in nature what resembles your body. And the beet looks just like the heart. And the stems coming from the beets look like the valves. Okay?
That's the heartbeat. The heartbeat.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that is Allah's way of telling you when your blood is low, here, go to the earth. I put the blood here for you. Drink this to build your blood back. You know? And when you were talking about celery earlier, if you look at the stalks of celery, the stalks look like your bones. And so in the doctrine of signatures, the celery, what does it represent? It represents the bones because it's high in sodium. And what is one of the most wonderful things that can strengthen your bones is sodium, natural sodium.
Natural sodium.
You see what I'm saying? So we got these foods here that were given to us, as Imhotep said, let food be your medicine.
Let your food be your medicine. You know, it's just like the ginseng. I mean, the ginseng root looks like a man. There's another herb that's, you know, ginseng, like Korean ginseng, it's a wonderful adaptogen. So people are so stressed. Again, their adrenal glands are just taxed out because I call it political stress now. Because they were stressing out on who's going to be in the White. So these people are literally, their spirit and their energy is compromised because they give so much energy to these vampires.
Yes.
And if they just get back into nature, and be in harmony with nature, it's like the beets, just like the celery, it's like berries. I mean, though they should be organic, whenever possible. The citrus fruit and things like that. The enzymes, like when you got digestive problems, papaya, bromelain, all these different things were put here for us to maintain balance, not a substance that's made from a chemical structure that's never been found in nature. And the other thing, this is why beets is so popular right now, producing the nitric oxide is good for the kidneys, and so you're seeing this surge in the industry with beets, powder beets or whatever. But but a lot of people don't like beets. I loved beets when I was a child.
I did.
I had yellow beets the other day. I juiced some yellow beets. Someone asked whether or not the beets should be juiced or what did they say? They have
you
blended. But I bought some organic yellow beets the other day, and I juiced yellow beets, I think pineapple and mango. And then I went to have a colonic. This is so funny. Yeah. So I went to have a colonic yesterday, and my colon therapist said, listen, who are you angry with? Because when he looked in the machine, I said, what are you talking about? He said, when I see all of this yellow, he said that your liver is. I said, no. I said, I juiced yellow beets and mango and pineapple. And if you see a lot of yellow, it's not anger. I said, that's right.
Brother Bey also stated something about pressure points in the body that can indicate conditions. And I was it was a few years ago when I went down to Florida, and Dr. Love was giving me a treatment, and he touched a meridian point on the bottom of my ankle, and I jumped. He said, what's wrong with your kidneys? I said, and so he said, yo, you got, there's something going wrong. Are you keeping yourself hydrated? So I started getting back on an Asian formula called Luwei Di Hong Wang and a couple other things for the kidney, because he can tell from that pressure point, that there was an imbalance in my kidney, So again, going back to the beginning of the segment, we technically don't need equipment. We technically don't need all this high tech. All we got to do is get back into nature through iridology, tongue. I mean, you can lick your tongue out. And if you see
tongue will chew a lot.
Yeah. Ridges on the side, gallbladder and liver problems. Tongue cracks in the middle, indicating you have either spleen or heart problems, depending on where it's located. So you can again, we've gotten so caught up in going to get our checkup. And one of the things that I was just blown away with about 2 weeks ago, because I had not caught up with keep track of health insurance, right? Well, one of my senior clients was telling me that she pays $836 a month for health insurance.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. Then she said, oh, you think that's something? My sorority sister pays almost $3,000 a month, and she pays it every month. I was like, you talking about a year? She said, no, she pays this per month.
Wow.
I'm like, and it's not healthcare, it's disease care. They don't call it disease care because it's not appealing, it's not sexy. So they call it healthcare, because if it was truly healthcare, the people will be introduced to modalities that prevent disease. And prevention is the only cure. Exactly. They call it healthcare, just to pimp the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about, how many times people come to you that have been on medications for years and years and years, and yet they still have the same problem. So what is the medicine doing? If you've been taking it for all these years and you still have the same issues or even worse conditions, you know, most people who have been on high blood pressure medication usually wind up on dialysis after years and years of taking high blood pressure medicine. Why? Because it damages the kidneys.
Yep, exactly.
And so once the kidneys are not functioning properly, now you're on dialysis. Now you don't even have any control over your life because you constantly have to go to dialysis to get your blood clean because the kidney can no longer do the job. You understand what I'm saying? So the medication led to further damage.
Exactly.
Because you haven't dealt with the problem that caused it in the first place. You know? I'm like, we can't be a people who only look at symptoms without getting to root causes. Because for years, people can be suffering from something that happened mentally. I mean, physically, suffering something mentally that manifested into the physical.
Your physical condition.
You know, because nobody really dealt with the real problem. You know what I'm saying? And you know, you look at things like cancer, and we in the holistic world know that cancer manifests from anger. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't deal with the anger that caused it in the first place, how can you help a person overcome something if you haven't dealt with the reason? You know? And some of it can be from years ago. It doesn't have to be present day. It doesn't have to be present day. You know? And Dr. Gilliam has heard me say this many a times. Every human being has a female and male side. The right side of your body is male. The left side of your body is female. And so when you have certain ailments in a certain region of the body, the emotional state of it can also manifest into the physical. I had a client that came to see me one time that was dealing with lung cancer. And he didn't tell me what lung was the one that was diagnosed with the cancer. But when I checked him out using kinesiology, I went to the energy of that left lung and I said, the left lung is out of balance. He said, that's where the cancer is. And, you know, he never told me that before. And, you know, he told me about the situation. I told him I had to explain to him that, you know, lungs, and you said it earlier, lungs deal with depression. And I said, what kind of grief or depression issues are you having with a female? And he put his head down and he sighed and he said, well, it's my daughter. He said, because, you know, when she was born, because she wasn't the same complexion as me, I denied that she was mine.
Wow.
And so he carried that burden of guilt and grief for years. And that guilt and grief manifested into that imbalance. You see what I'm saying? But he started making amends with his daughter, as you know, she's an adult now, and she forgave him. And I said, that's the first step towards wellness. Let it go. Let the guilt go. You've made amends with her. You know, now is the time to develop your relationship. But from the years of guilt that he felt for disowning her. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why we talk about holistic stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If we just dealt with the physical part of that and didn't deal with the part of him not dealing with the grief from what he had did, then we can't help him turn that imbalance around. You see what I'm saying?
You know, another thing that's important, though, Brother Dave, is that people realize that they have to not only, you know, you seek you want to be forgiven for what you've done, but you've got to forgive yourself. So while people may be forgiven for something they've done, if you yourself are carrying around the burden of of unforgiveness towards yourself.
Yes.
I just can't forget the fact that I did XYZ. Now, a person or persons have forgiven you, but if you haven't forgiven yourself, that's the same thing and becomes burdening. Because one of the things that we do with the AO scan is that we do a thing called the inner voice, and in 20 seconds of the voice speaking into the device, we can pick up emotional issues that are I guess more present, what are going on now, but the deeper one is the subconscious issues, and then it'll also show you what octaves, because your body's like an instrument, and we're tones and energy and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So what's out of balance is your A flat or A sharp or C, is the color yellow, taking you off balance, and then what types of emotional issues that normally indicates, and then what kind of physical issues go along with it, and then it gives you the reasons and what you need to do to balance it, and gives you tones to listen to. But what I'm saying is, for 20 seconds of voice, it tells you about what you might have been dealing with for 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's
voice.
Yeah, that type of resonance like equipment is very valuable. It does have an impact. It's just like Brother Bey, he had told me just a phenomenal story about Dr. White about this aura machine.
Yeah.
And share that. I like to just share that, a brief summary of that.
With Dr. Wyatt, when we would go different places around the country, he would do little things like, and we're in, say, a area like a symposium, and you have a lot of different holistic practitioners around. Doc would go and sometimes, listen to what they had and test his skills against their skills, or he would do things like, in this particular case with Brother L is talking about, is that they have these what they call photon photos where they can take pictures of your aura.
Had it done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this particular year, we were in Las Vegas at a naturopathic convention, and this vendor there had this aura machine where he would take pictures of your aura and then diagnose your health condition, based on your aura. So Dr. Wyatt looked at me and smiled and said, "Watch this." So he goes over there and he lets the guy take his picture. And when the picture came out, and this was a Caucasian guy, he looked at the picture and his eyes got real big. It was like he had just seen something unbelievable. And he looked at Dr. Wyatt and kept looking at the picture, and he said, "I don't know who you are, but I know you have to be some kind of spiritual healer. I've never seen an aura like this in my life."
Wow.
And then Doc looked at me and smiled, and we just walked off. And he would do stuff like that.
Wow.
I had a similar thing, wasn't that deep, but I was getting a colonic years ago by an Albion up in I think I was in Paoli or some part of Pennsylvania, and I had heard about this. I was still pastoring then, and I went to see her, and I had gotten a couple of colonics from her. And what she used to do is let me, if she was going over with the previous client, she would let me sit down in the sauna room and do like about a half hour, hour in the sauna. Right. And it was so much so that I ended up buying the sauna. But so when I come up this last time to get my colonic, she's got her hands like about this far off me, over me. And, she says to me, "Wow, you really live outside of yourself." And excuse me. Then and I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Your aura, your is out." She had her hands about 12 inches out. Because I'm like, "Why don't you just go down here?" And she said, "You live outside of your." Then she snapped on me. She didn't want me to come back anymore. She told me never to come back. I was so upset I cried because I was like, "Why? Why can't I come back?" I don't know what I did to that woman. But I had like 2 or 3 more. I had paid for like a package, like 3 for the, you get paid for 3. I think I had like 1 or 2 left. She told me never come back again.
Wow.
And I was upset for about a month or so, but I couldn't believe, because I thought she liked me, but she did something. She felt my aura, and she said that I lived out. She said, "Wow, you really live outside yourself." The lady did a 160 on me or 180 on me and didn't like me anymore. I'd been going there for about a month and a half.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So, it happens. But it was an experience. Hey, listen, time flies when we are having fun and having all this great information being accepted. I'm just going to go. We're at 2:00. We're at 2 hours. But I do control the time.
Right.
I'm not going to go too far over just because I was tired. I told Grand Sheik that I was so tired.
Right.
But this whole conversation has actually energized me. You know what I mean? Has given me the energy, and I don't feel the tiredness I felt 3 hours ago. And you gentlemen have just given, it just does my heart proud that what started out as what could have been a negative situation was turned into, a new friendship, kinship, camaraderie, partnership. I don't know what you guys are going to do together, but it's amazing. I love how you all bunny back off of each other, and knows I didn't say to give that oinky, but that, or camelback, whichever way, off of each other. And that's great. And this is what we need, because there's a whole wide world out here, and we are, we are everywhere. And, we have enough in our own community to deal with. And I'm sure you deal with anyone, but us Moors, we're in need of some healing. And it's good to have people within our own communities that, we can reach out to. Of course, me, I'm the energy person. I don't diagnose anything or prescribe, but I work with your energy and let your energy and that energies work together to bring into balance what's out of balance. You all do the same thing when it comes to your modalities. And I hope that, and I've been posting your contact information. Those of you who are listening, I didn't say this at the very beginning. I should have, but if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please give us a thumbs up. This is an awesome presentation. And please, if you see rolling down the bottom here, that is our Cash App and our PayPal. We appreciate your support. We love it when you show up. But even if everybody on here puts $1 or something in, we good, right? It helps keep doing going. And we'll be here twice. Yeah, we're doing like twice a week now doing stuff. So this is great. Grant, we have a special this week. Grand Sheik is coming back on Friday. Normally this is a 5th Friday, so he wouldn't normally be back until the 1st Friday, but he is going to do a lecture on Friday, and then he'll be right back on the next Friday, which we'll put him back on schedule. But
great.
So please support what we do here. Please tell somebody. Please share this video. I should have said at the beginning, we could have had more on the live, but the replay is going to be just as powerful. The information is just as relevant. And these two gentlemen and myself, we are holistic practitioners, and we are here for you. So reach out to us, me for the energy, them for everything else. And some last words from Dr. Botanica, and then Brother Dave. And then
again, everything that we're doing right now is a divine order, it's a divine call, and it's not by coincidence by any means. And this is the paradigm that our people need. We all have a special craft in holistic healing, and I've talked to Brother Dave, and again, I see the magic modalities that he actually has. Things that I don't, that I'm not skilled in. So that's what makes us so special. Like with you, Dr. G, you have your own energy. I mean, the energy that you put out is phenomenal, and so we have to have that. The information, you're doing a phenomenal job. I mean, we need, hopefully one day we'll be able to acquire a stadium and we can fill the whole stadium and do a live symposium. But yeah, my words is just, hey, you got to get back into not only just holistic, but you have to reconnect with divine law and the universal laws of life. Yes. Everything else falls by the wayside. Nothing that you see on CNN or MSNBC, this is the network, you know,
Yeah.
and I hope that the people that's out there can share this with their friends, relatives, colleagues, because this is the network, not CNN. You're going to get the real deal from here, whether it be myself, Brother Bey, or whoever guest you have. It's going to be a phenomenal platform of information.
Yes, absolutely,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much, Brother Dave.
Just wanted to say, real quick about Sheik, Grand Sheik. I first met Grand Sheik lecturing back in 2012 at the bookstore that we all pretty much started at, Black and Nobel. And Tyson, who was one of the owners of the store, said, I want you to meet Tyreek Bey. I want you to meet him. And I'm like, okay. So I go over there and he introduces me and he tells me, he tells Taj, yeah, this is Dr. Wyatt's student. And Taj is always humble. And Taj said, hey, how you doing? And we hugged. And who would have known that day that I would, be under his tutelage and him being a mentor. And I love his spirit so much. And he's just a great person.
Absolutely. I mean, phenomenal. And the great thing about Grand Sheik is, like, no matter what spears come toward him, he maintains his composure, and that's the essence of a true leader.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely. And we have to show, this is his, what is he going to be? 9. He will be, I think this is his 75th solar return is coming up on February. Yeah, I have to get it right. Because my son is going to be 50 on the same day. 50. My son's going to be 50. Oh, wow. He will. My son is going to be.
Wow, that's amazing.
Joining the 50 club, huh?
Yeah, my oldest. But anyway, he's 25 years older than my son, so he'll be 75 on February 14th. I want to drop that out there. I don't know what we're going to be able to do with regard to this plan, this thing we're going through. But I want y'all to, when we get closer to that time, show your love to our national Grand Sheik. 75 is a milestone. We couldn't. We didn't really do anything big for his 74th like we wanted to. But 75 is coming up, and on the 14th of February.
Dr. G, he doesn't appear to be anywhere over 50, nowhere near. It is unbelievable, but it shows you how divine he is.
Mm-hmm.
To maintain such mental, spiritual, and physical stamina.
Yes.
He is a divine being, and when I first met Grand Sheik, I was just in awe. Because I had been following Taj for at least about 7-8 years just on YouTube.
Wow.
And I had and it was just always in my heart to I'm like, man, I need to meet this brother, And again, when I left the Baba Gregory's funeral and got on the Amtrak, and I'm like, it was just, man, I mean, it was divine. That's all. I mean, that's an understatement. That's an understatement.
Well, as we get closer to the time, which is not too far off, I'm just, I want to do something. So,
right.
But he's much deserving of. But we appreciate all the support that we get from the guests and our regular viewers. Because some of the folks on here, like I said, I see some new names pop up. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and click that bell, because that's how you get notified. Those are the notifications that when we're on, and we're generally on Tuesday nights and Friday nights, but sometimes we may do something special. So it could be on any night. So just make sure you are subscribed, and we appreciate you. Give you a thumbs up, like us, and share what we bring. And we appreciate you. Thank you, my brothers. And I'm so happy for your connection. You don't know. I call myself the connector. So I'm feeling good about this.
You're a master connector.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about this one. I'm really feeling good about this. I don't know. I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna go. I know this is about books. Okay, this is how I'm gonna leave this. I know this is about a book that was a misunderstanding about who wrote a book. But trust and believe, I see you two collaborating on something in
yeah, we are. We are.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely are.
We got a lot of work to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It dropped in my spirit. They're gonna do a collab. And it's not gonna be any, discrepancy about what you are going to collab, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be what we need for the times that we're living in. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Yes.
I am so happy
as well.
All right. Oh gosh, I'm thankful. Look, get in touch with these brothers. Like I said, brother Dave is phenomenal. I've he's muscle tested me and finger you see what thing So Dr. Botanica, and he's got his Chinese medicines and all this stuff. Look, both of these men are phenomenal. They're going to be working together and some stuff. So either way, you can't go wrong. If one can't do it, the other one will be able to, and they're going to be working together. Great collab. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much for coming on the show and setting the record straight.
Yeah.
Hey, are you my next guest? I don't know. Maybe. Is it you? Is it me? I don't know. Thank you.
Peace.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. 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 Dr. G.